Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good, good. Okay, let's meditate. Welcome. So take a deep breath, take your attention inside, down just below your belly button. And you can even put your hands there. For women, your right hand underneath. For men, your left hand underneath. And pull your attention down below your belly button. As my friend Mika Karu says, home base, safe place. Try to let all the thoughts in your mind settle as you take your attention down. Energy follows attention. And hold your attention just below your belly button. So you're coming fully into your physical body. Now drop your attention down below your body into the center of the earth. We are of the earth. And now gently take your hands to the sides of your body and out a little bit. And run white light through the top of your head, down and out your hands and feet, asking everything that doesn't serve the highest best to be cleared. Now bring your hands back below your belly button. And gently allow your attention to rise to your heart center. Breathe into that space. Then into your throat center. Take a breath into your third eye, behind and between your eyebrows. Breathing up and out the top of your head. And now we'll do the 3-part Om. Just 3 times. U, mm. Om. Holding your attention inside. Gently open your eyes. Not moving your attention. How may we serve today? Yes, stories. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning. So happy to see you and be with you.
So happy to see you and be here as well. I was wondering because it's come into my awareness a lot through social media and just everybody out there talking about the Lion's Gateway, the Lion's Portal. And I know you're studying astronomy and astrology. So I was wondering, could you talk about it a little bit? I am hopeful that, I'm just hopeful that people can hold it in such a positive way that it possibly could affect a good change for all of us. So I didn't know your thoughts on it.
Well, actually, it's not a term that we're familiar with. So please give us some context.
Well, it's happening on the 8th, and it's about Orion, I believe, and Leo, and it's a gateway that comes in. And from what I've been hearing, it's supposed to be very heart-centered, and it's also supposed to bring stuff up that perhaps people need to work on to release, which is always a good thing, in my opinion, no matter what it is. If it needs to be released, we release it so we can move forward. So I just didn't know if you were aware of anything that, could help facilitate it.
Actually, I'm not aware of anything about it. It's possible that it's a Western astrology
It could be.
phenomena that, um, at some point the intention is to learn it all. But
Right.
at this point, there's a bit of a focused awareness on Vedic astrology, not because I think it's better in some ways, and it's not totally adapted to Western culture in other ways.
True.
But in terms of of being a predictive science, it is aligned with what's actually happening in the sky.
Right.
And so, but in terms of Western understanding of the human psychology from a Western perspective, it's not the same. And I can only talk about the astronomy from a very vague Vedic
Sure.
perspective. So I don't really have the complete understanding to be able to answer your question.
No problem.
I'm sure there are lots of others out there who have more information than I do.
I will keep searching.
So yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't be
And
sorry. It's perfect. Thank you.
and here's what the guides are saying.
Okay.
They may know of this, but different language. They don't understand the languaging of what you're talking about.
I
So,
understand.
and this is very much how my knowledge is their limitation in
Mhm.
some ways, because if they can only communicate through my here's what it is. They're a vast energetic field of information, but they can only communicate through my vocabulary. So if there's no filter in me to give an honest answer to the question, then there's the energy can't come through. So there's total access to creative energy, but in specific terminology like this,
Mhm.
can't quite get there.
Yeah, I understand that. I really do. I think that's probably why I'm searching too, because it's like I'm looking at it and I'm listening to it, and some of it's, I can go from as a feeling place, and some of it feels like possibility, and some of it feels like maybe skewed information. And so I think what I'm searching for is the clarity on it, and clearly I'm just going to need to experience it and form my own opinion on it, feel
Yes.
what I feel about it. So I appreciate your answer, because it gets me to go inside myself even more without just being handed information. It's always better to experience information.
Well, this is the thing too, it's really important to tell the truth about experience,
Exactly.
not pretend to know something that we don't.
Exactly.
Because, the ego would have us want to be all knowing and
Always.
yes, and be, the real source of information for people.
Right.
And the source of information that's coming through this being
Mhm.
is really about how to connect the deepest to the highest in
Right.
yourself in every moment, because that's that's the fundamental thing that human beings need to be doing to create a joyous, sustainable environment.
Yes.
And if it's not possible to do it completely in the outer world, it's very important that we do it completely in our inner world,
Yes.
because it's the inner that creates the outer, not the other way around. And every step that we take inside ourselves to become the highest that we can be, to be the most loving that we can be, to be the most inflow and supportive of every person in our lives, this has value. And what happens outside of us, it's very complex. And astrologically, from my limited knowledge, it's an extremely powerful time. There are still several planets that are in their own houses, so they are at home in themselves and quite powerful. Jupiter is one of them. And there was just that powerful transit of Rahu, Uranus, and Mars, not this weekend, but a week ago. And that's still being felt. And, you know, that's a lot of powerful, malefic energy that was transiting and is still influencing. So there's been a disquiet, as well as Jupiter in its own house, you know, in Pisces. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and spirituality and true wisdom and goodness, good fortune. And so, however that influences our own astrology, it's pure benefit.
Yeah. Well, I think you said a lot right there when you said so many in their own house. To me, that I felt that, you know, that really spoke to me, because it's so true. It's kind of like coming a roundabout way of saying the same thing in a different way, that it needs to be felt in here. We need to, all of us need to individually experience what we're meant to experience, and then, you know, then know what we're supposed to know. It's not something external. I've really got the knowing from that, from those phrases you said, that this is not something external happening. This is something completely inside each of us to hold.
And the other thing is that Saturn is retrograde in its own house in Capricorn. And Saturn, according to my teacher, according to his teacher, is very, very spiritual, because it's the planet of reality. And so it's in dignity. That's what it's called when it's in its own house and powerful. And when it's retrograde, it's even more powerful because it's closer to the earth.
Well, I'm a Capricorn, so maybe that's why I'm feeling all this.
Yes, absolutely. So it's in your first house.
Yeah.
Depending on whether you're reading your chart from a Western or a Vedic perspective.
Right.
And it's simple. You add 23 degrees, and then it's Vedic. If it's a Western.
Interesting.
Chart. Yeah. Well, I can explain it. It's because every 72 years, another degree is added for the difference from when the equinox was at the same time as the Vedic New Year.
Okay.
And mathematically in the Vedic calendar, it's all accounted for so that it stays with what's in the sky. And the equinox is not mathematically aligned
Right.
with the planets, and so that's why there's a difference. So over time, it's been 23 degrees of change. So that's pretty significant.
Yes.
It doesn't make Western astrology wrong. It makes it not very efficient for prediction,
Yeah.
forecasting.
I would imagine. Yeah.
And that's Rebecca's limited understanding from just a little over a year of study.
Well, I'm impressed. So thank you so much.
Oh,
You
you're
helped
welcome.
me come to peace within myself, Rebecca. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So yes, we have to qualify everything that Rebecca says because it all changes as the education gets deeper. So we don't want to be anybody's limitation, and that's a big temptation. How may we serve further? You can always type your questions into the chat. Okay, I'm going to say it a name. Joyce, you're unmuted, so if you have a question, please speak. This will be edited. The name will be edited out before any of this goes online.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I've been using the technique you shared with me a couple of weeks ago, and I'm wondering how I can, or if you have any ideas how to continue with that practice.
Well, we're sorry, but we don't remember what technique it was. So
Oh, that's all right.
there have been a lot
it
of
was a
techniques.
suggestion to invite my ex to the temple as a way to find kind of a higher way of being, a potential future scenario where there isn't anger and revenge and place of forgiveness. Because my ex is in still so much pain. And
so the first thing, we'll just review the technique. The first thing is that you, from your highest self, formulate a message that you would like to deliver. This is when conversation, this is for everybody, when conversation has become blocked between ourselves and another because of disagreement. The thing we can do is sit down and, from our highest perspective, compose a statement of 3 lines or less that we would like to say to the person from our highest best to their highest best to try to change the frequency of the interaction between us in the totality. So we want to relate from the highest in us to the highest in them. So we sit and think and feel in ourselves how to serve that highest. And from that perspective, we create a statement that usually goes something like this idea that the flow between us has become completely blocked. What used to be love is such a difficult concept because, you know, the whole idea of romantic love and love of God and love of self, you know, we only have one word to mean all these many dimensions of experience. So what we are doing is trying to heal a rift between us and another person, understanding that the rift exists in both places. And so we are offering the highest love that we can to the situation, to ourselves and the other person. And so we compose a statement that serves that feeling and idea in us, so that we have taken our pain and whatever feelings, complicated feelings we have about the situation, and brought them to our highest perspective before we go to the Inasa temple. And then we go to the Inasa temple and we invite the highest. We go there. There's a whole recording at the Inasa site of how to go to the temple. And we go there knowing that we are going to a sacred, safe place to deliver our feeling from the deepest and highest that we can find in ourselves, to deliver that statement to the other person. And so when we enter this sacred space of the Inasa temple, we are our highest self that we can bring in that moment. And then when we get there, there are two chairs. We sit in one and we invite the highest of the other person to come sit in the other chair. So that's the first thing. We aren't inviting the plane of disagreement to that situation. We are inviting the highest for the whole to that situation. So it's from that understanding that we deliver the highest we can envision as a message to them, hoping to create peace and change in ourselves, because we are, in fact, the only part of that equation that we can control. And having delivered our message, we allow the other person to go in peace, and we express gratitude for access to such a sacred space. And we leave the temple with a feeling of that gratitude. And then we allow whatever message we have sent to just be. And we allow the relationship to just be as we work on ourselves to become a finer person in every moment. And we allow that relationship to just be quiet because we have done what we can do in sacred space. And then things will shift, both in us and in the other. But we allow a quiet so that what happens when there's anger and disagreement is that we reduce each other to the lowest common denominator in our communication. And so this whole process is to change that. And so to hold that, we want to change ourselves so that we are radiating that as much as possible. And in that higher frequency communication, sharing the love we have found within ourselves, we can develop a kind of confidence and slowly, slowly, things will change. But we have no control over how the other person or how long, because often healing takes time. And when some relationship has been fractured, we need to allow time and space and cultivate the good feeling in us. And understand that something in us has also been fractured. But also that love shared is never lost. Love doesn't die. We hope that answers your question. If you have more, please ask.
Thank you. I guess I did have another question. Is it possible to also use the Anons Temple for healing physical ailments?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And so we'll say that again, you recognize it as sacred space and approach it as such. And in that situation, you go there and there will be a treatment table or a chair, depending on what serves the situation best. And you present yourself and ask for healing. And you allow simply. With gratitude, allow yourself to receive. And understand that health is a multi-dimensional event, that there are layers and layers from the most sacred, energetic, to the physical. And so this allowing is a complete trust in love itself and its healing power. And the whole point is our union with this and trust in this love itself. And that dis-ease is our beingness. Expressing some complexity that might have begun many lifetimes ago. So there is no we are all very complex and have all kinds of knots in various planes of awareness in ourselves that are working themselves into harmony. And when we allow ourselves to completely trust life itself, the power of the source of everything that is, that has created everything that is. When we are in complete allowing of our union with that, it is the source of any transformation. And that the highest we can do and be in this world is that union, that allowing. We've forgotten the question. We hope we answered it.
Thank you. You did.
As you can tell, this is not a linear event, channeling. How may we serve further? Yes. Pam, oh,
Um, Hi.
hi, how are you this
That's
morning?
quite all right. Our system is going in and out, so sometimes we can hear you, and sometimes we can't. I hope you can hear us.
Yes,
Okay. The question of the week for me has been about the word care, and the difference between caring for others and self, and caring about others and self. Um, Caring for seems to require action, and caring about seems internal and maybe passive. And there are several instances or situations in my life where caring for has become more difficult. And yet I still care about. And I'm wondering if action is required in order to support and wish for the highest best, if you actually need to do something in order to care for someone.
well, of course, the answer to this is always situational and has to do with timing. And also with consideration for what is in your highest best and what is in their highest best. And so these are always the same. What we bring to our decisions, our choices about this, is we're honest about our capacity, what it is we have to give. And we do our best to have that come from a perspective of the highest for ourselves and them and the other. And we have to understand that, we're brought up, most of us, in a Christian, Judeo-Christian environment where the idea of taking care of yourself first is considered not the highest. And yet, if we look at our experience, we see that if we don't take care of ourselves, then there is a kind of there is a resistance that arises in us because we are not taking care. And so it disturbs our own flow of participation. And then if we don't deal with that resistance, you know, then there's judgment in ourselves. Well, you know, I'm thinking about myself, therefore I'm selfish, therefore there's something wrong with me. And then we have cut down our own flow to our highest because of our judgment. And we're not saying that this is what's happening with you specifically. We are saying that this is culturally ingrained in most of us, that when we come to the idea of caring about and caring for, we have this cultural idea that it's superior to take care of the other first, to put the other's need first. And there are times when that's appropriate. It's not that we're saying that's never the thing to do. You know, if somebody in front of us is bleeding profusely, we have to call an ambulance regardless of how we feel. You know, so all of this has dimensions to it where we sit down if we have the time, and fortunately everyone on this call has the luxury of introspection. This is the gift that allows us to really transform ourselves, the luxury of introspection. And it is a luxury, it's a gift in this life. And so we can take our attention inside and feel for what is in the highest best in relating to the other. And then we feel in ourselves where the energetic openings are to serve in the way that is appropriate to the situation. And we always want to understand that what we want to give is what serves, not always what we think is wanted or what the other person might think is wanted. So we look deeply within ourselves to see what serves the highest. And we move to embody, the word is compassion. And we understand also that compassion has two sides of it, compassion to ourselves and compassion to other. And that when that perspective is in union with us, that's how we move. So there is respect for self and respect for other. And when we have that in alignment, we are then empowered to do what serves the whole. And so it's not as complex as it sounds, because it's really feeling into ourselves deeply for that alignment. And when we have that feeling, then we know. And when we don't have that feeling, we're honest that we don't know. And unless, you know, there's something timely about what needs to happen, we can be at ease until we do know. And then there's peace. Because what engenders a question like this is a kind of not being able to find the alignment. And so when you understand that what you're looking for is alignment, then there's a kind of peace in knowing that. And so then you have the field in which to work. Does that make sense? Does that land?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
good.
it makes total sense.
Good.
I have a little bit more. I often feel as though I am not participating enough. Where in situations where people seem to be in need. I'll give an example. Our 102-year-old mom is declining. She lives with our son, who is far enough away, so it's a whole day thing. And when we get there, although there's a recognition and a joy that seems to emanate from her that we're there, it quickly goes away, and she doesn't even remember that we're there. And the other situation is our grandchildren, who we were estranged from because we were estranged from our daughter, and she required things of us before we got to see them, and that didn't happen for a number of years. And now they're teenagers, and they're both going through quite intense struggles in their lives. We had the most wonderful relationship with them when we were able to see them often. In fact, our daughter said they come home happy. She feels that we're the safest place that they can be. And the relationship was rich and wonderful. And then we didn't see them, and now they're teenagers and in a totally different place. And both are seeming to be hurting. Their parents divorced, and the situation got very complex. And anyway, so I'd like to reestablish a connection, but I don't even know who they are now. So that's the caring for part. I don't know. I've been caring about them this whole time, but I don't feel adequate, actually, to physically connect with them now.
So we'll deal with the mother first. And a lot of this has to do with your expectation and her capacity. So take the recognition that she has when you walk in the door and the joy at seeing you as the reality. And anything that happens after that is a lack of physical capacity, physical energy to sustain that joy. And so it's not personal. And your job in that relationship is to bring peace, your own joy at the opportunity to still be together on this plane as long as she stays here and wants to be here. And even though it takes great effort to go there, you don't have to stay for very long, because she can't sustain the energy to have more interaction than just what she can do. And so the expectation that it's going to, it requires great effort for you to go there. But her ability to sustain communication is very limited. And so you just understand that's the reality. And so you try to, make that trip benefit in other ways, benefit you in other ways too, like other things that you need to do, things you need to find that you need to go elsewhere. You try to, make the trip encompass those, because you don't need to, you can't really spend a long time with her because she doesn't have the energy to be with you. And that's not personal. That's just, age appropriate. She's maybe got 10 good minutes. And that's all that can be sustained, but it's still worth it, because that flow in the 10 minutes really nourishes both, nourishes everything. But you can be real about what's possible in yourself, so that your roles have reversed. You are there to nourish and nurture and bless what's happening. And your ease with her difficulty is what will allow her to pass gracefully. So you think about that, how you can serve in that, and be gracious with what's possible. And as a person is leaving, they become less and less available on this plane. And so you can begin to, as you have done, you're doing, we see, cultivate the love between you that's always been there, that always will be there. Even after the person passes, the love doesn't die. So you are cultivating that, and you are showing her that that doesn't die, so that she has ease with that. And this is really what you're serving in this transitional phase as she's getting ready to go. You are serving the awareness of that love and the flow that you still feel and will continue to feel after she passes. And what's happening is that range in this physical plane is getting narrower and narrower, the amount of time that she can be in that, because it takes physical energy. And so you understand that, and you bless the moment with everything you have. And you're not doing anything wrong, but it's so much effort to put into for so little time. But understand that that concentrated flow that you experience when you walk in the door, for however long it lasts, that's what's important. And you come and go with that in your heart, and all is well. Does that make sense?
Oh, that is what happens. And
Yes.
this sort of puts a base for it at this point. And I haven't been expecting more than that. 10 minutes of joy, or 5 minutes actually, is about what it is. But it is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it reminds her of herself in a way.
Yes.
And so the hurdle to get over is getting out of our house and our gardens and stuff and making the trip down there. It's kind of it's a deal, and it takes a whole day.
Yeah, it's expensive. In every way you
yeah.
think about it, it's expensive. It costs
Yes.
something. But
Yes.
it's worth it.
Yes, and I really appreciate my husband for going along because he's he's just sort of uh, a reluctant participant, I must say. So that is another kind of hurdle to get over.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate what you said, and it makes total sense. It rings true. It is what's happening. So yay.
So now we go to the teenagers. So
Yeah.
depending on their age and state of development, they are in the rebellion phase where they are beginning to separate from their parents. And because your relationship was disrupted in a time way, you're dealing with completely different people than when they were younger. And so you understand that on the front side, and you still maintain your home as a safe place for them, whoever they choose to be. And they don't need to come both at the same time, because that will be overwhelming for you. So you can have one at a time, maybe for a weekend, and you just see what's possible. You just be available. And the idea is not to, you just be available. You're not there to do anything but make them aware of a safe, stable environment that has some quiet and depth and love, and allow them to come to you.
One of them, the younger one, probably would be willing to come make the long journey from Portland, and to them it's like another state or something. At this point, it's like,
It's
oh, so
another
far.
world.
Yeah, and somebody would have to bring them, probably their dad, but and he has offered to do that. The other thing is that we're not connected to the Wi-Fi's and all this kind of stuff, and that's what they do now. Both of them are completely immersed in the devices, and we don't have that. We have gardens and animals and, you know, quiet, and it's not really exciting for teenagers to do that. So it's kind of that's a hurdle to get over too.
So
We do want to be available. The older teenager doesn't want to go out of their room, at this point. So that's a big hurdle.
yeah, that's a phase. That's a phase. And it may be that neither one of them can appreciate what you have to offer at this time. And that's not up to you. All you can do is provide the invitation and, you know, maybe make the case for a device-free environment for a weekend. Might give them a different experience, just a taste of a different experience, that, you know, not having a device in front of you for a few hours might be an interesting experience, because we all know that these coming generations, they are not the same human beings that we are. They are merged with their devices, and they have been changed. Humanity is different. And we're not saying that this is good or bad. We're just acknowledging that there's a difference between people who have grown up glued to their devices because their energy no longer flows in exactly the same way. They aren't aware of they aren't aware at all of themselves as energetic beings separate from devices, except in rare cases. That's an overgeneralization, but this is the trend of what's happening. And especially the younger and younger children are, the devices have become so easily usable, so user friendly, that very young children are occupied by their devices from the time they're born. And so, that's, for some children, that's their childcare. We're not saying this is good or bad. It's just very, very different. And it's creating very, very different human beings than we are.
I will extend an invitation to the younger one, who is mobile. She comes out of her room and interacts. And the other one, I want them to know that we are here for them in some way. I want to make an effort. That they don't remember their childhood. They say they don't remember their childhood. So that means they don't remember the joy that we shared when they were small.
Oh, there's a part of them that remembers. It's not
I
the
hope
conscious
so.
part they live in.
Yeah.
They're living in a very demanding reality.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time. There's so
Yeah.
many pressures on them that we didn't know.
Right.
We didn't grow up in a world that, felt like it was heating up quickly.
Yeah.
And, we can't imagine, quite frankly, what it is to be young and have that pressure.
There's so many pressures. It boggles my mind, actually, what they face, especially the older one, who's got so many issues. I sometimes worry for their safety. But anyway, so yeah, the caring for is kind of difficult. The caring about has persisted through this whole time.
Well, this is interesting what we're noticing, and what you can do is always hold a good thought for them. Worry is a product of our fear. And when we worry, we are injecting fear into relationship.
Oh, I think it was Oprah who said, worry is wishing for something you don't want.
Exactly. It's putting our attention on what we don't want. And in the flow of manifestation, when we put our attention on what we don't want, we are magnetizing that to ourselves, simply put. So it's better if we put our attention on what we do want. And so we hold a good thought for them. Whenever we think of them, we connect to that love that was shared in the past, and that will magnetize that to them and to you. And so even though they don't remember it, you do, and you can connect to that, and love shared never dies. And so you can begin to build on that. And whatever, adolescents are unpredictable. it is their job to reject first and understand later, because they are in this stage of their life where they're trying to individuate and they don't know who they are. And so anything can come and go through their their expression of who they are. And so you don't know what you'll get. And that's okay. That's creativity in action.
I'm thinking of meeting them individually, but both at the Anasa Temple.
Absolutely, that is helpful, because then you're encouraging that flow, you're holding to the love shared, you're and that's not past, present, or future. That just is. And so absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So we have time for one more if somebody wants to say or ask. This is so much fun being with you. This is what we love the most, meeting you where you are. Talking hypothetically and globally, and this, we're not sure it does anything. But when we really interact with where you are and can be with you, this is our joy. And there's no such thing as an unwelcome question. We all have the same questions, because we're all in the same quest of discovering what love is and how to live it. How to be it. Yes.
I just wanted to really thank you for, wanted to thank Pam for her question, because it's my question too. And knowing that we can just spend whatever time there is. I always figure if I'm going to make that trip, then it needs to be an occasion, like a birthday, it needs to be an event. But it really doesn't. It can just be the few minutes. And that's okay.
Yes.
That's such a gift for me, because I'm gonna go see her as soon as I get that amount of time.
Yes. You would understand easily if she lived across the street.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
because it's a production for you, you want it to have meaning. And it does. There's no question that it has meaning and that it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
But and the other thing is, as a person fades, very often we go to be with them for ourselves, because they can no longer make the energetic connection to the love. That will happen. And then we understand that we're just going for ourselves to have that flow, whatever flow there can be. It's not lost, it's not, but we no longer know what impact it has on the other person. That time will come. And so we understand that we're doing it for ourselves. And that the most important thing is that we hold to that love no matter what the condition of the other. And that's true in every relationship at every stage. We hold to that love no matter what the condition of the other, because holding to love is what we do, and hopefully what we are. As each day goes by, we become more and more of that. That seems like a good segue into meditation. So we will end where we started, focusing on that which serves everything that lives. So we allow you to connect to that in whatever way you feel, and we will be sharing our field with you as we are best able. Thank you so much for coming today. It's been a joy to be with you. So much love to you all. Bye for now.